Hello, welcome back everyone to the Consistently OK podcast. We're here for season 2. It's arrived and we're ready. My name's Luke and I'm here as always with Nick.
Aloha.
Presenting you with a bi-weekly pod centered around pop culture that we do our very best to make consistently OK just for you. Each month we give you one episode where we dive into something such as a film, TV show, game or a comic and we break down our thoughts and more on it. Our second monthly episode will be our in-depth series, and this season we're focusing on Batman, from films to animation, where we'll take you on a journey through the highs and the lows, ins and outs of the representation of Batman throughout the years. This week's sponsor comes from our good friend Harry Hughes. If you're looking for an illustrator to sketch your favourite character from any of the pop culture goodness, or maybe your own character, then head to www.etsy.com/uk/shop/Basford and commission him. Follow Harry on Instagram at Big Basford. Find any of our links on our social media channels, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. All right, Nick, here we are, season 2.
We're ready, mate.
We're ready.
We're on it.
We're on it. So
got a fancy new logo. We've got fancy new music. It's all there.
It's all kicking off. It's fantastic. And
all good.
Our first episode, we're going to do something. Well, we're doing this all of season 1, just jumping into TV shows, films, things like that. Our in-depth one will come the second part of the month, but where else but to start on 2 of the biggest shows that have been out over the last few weeks while we've been on our hiatus: Falcon and Winter Soldier and Invincible.
Excited. I think I even said on our season finale that I was very excited to talk about Invincible.
Are you more excited to talk about Invincible or Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Bit of both. Falcon and Winter Soldier, I've got a lot to say. Invincible, I've got a lot to gush about.
Ooh. You and the MCU hate. Why, Nick?
I know, right?
Well, let's start with the hate then, shall we? Falcon and Winter Soldier. So this is part of the MCU.
Starting season 2 well.
Starting season 2 with pure hate. So this was out on Disney Plus, part of the MCU. Originally, this was supposed to be the first Disney Plus TV series they did. So it was actually, by now, I think today, which is the 7th of May, this is coming out on the 12th of May, so on the 7th of May, in the cinema would have been Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That should have released today.
Oh, really?
Really, yeah.
Gosh.
I'm telling you, Nick, my research is on point mostly now.
It really is.
I've learned my lesson. Yeah. So I read that one bit and that's it for the rest of this episode.
Sweet.
So we should have had Black Widow out, and then it should have been Falcon and Winter Soldier. That would have been in 2020. Then we would have started the year with the Eternals. And then we would have had Shang-Chi in February. Then we would have had WandaVision. And then we would have had Doctor Strange, which would have been out today. So obviously all of that's got muddled up. Somehow the Eternals is like really far away, which is crazy really, but it is what it is. And Falcon and Winter Soldier was pushed back. So we started with WandaVision and then we went to Falcon and Winter Soldier. And if you think about it, in an ideal world, Falcon and Winter Soldier, even though we haven't even spoken about it yet, but that probably would have fitted in quite nicely as a starting point, and a WandaVision would have been like a really good second series. But hey, you play the cards that are dealt, and we had WandaVision, and obviously it worked because we both enjoyed it overall.
Yeah.
You can find that podcast on season 1. Go back, enjoy. You're welcome. So let's talk about the now though. Falcon and Winter Soldier. It was 6 episodes in total.
Yes, it was
6 episodes. Friday nights were good, weren't they? For a few weeks, we had that, and we had Invincible. What Time to Be Alive?
Yeah,
and they were hour-long episodes, and they actually kind of felt like an hour-long episode because with WandaVision, it was basically 40 minutes and 20 minutes of credits, and this felt like an hour. I don't know if that's in a good way or a bad way. Definitely one episode definitely felt like an hour long. The boat episode. Oh. Anyway. So we'll start off. We're not going to go episode by episode. For anybody who hasn't seen it, we're going to go through spoilers as well. So if you've not watched Falcon and Winter Soldier, then don't listen yet. Come back, find us then.
Yes.
So the first thing I want to say about it is the opening scene of the first episode. If you recall it, there's a plane going through the sky.
Yep.
Since tracking it, he's helping out the military. That's a hugely epic opening, and you can see why they probably did that, because that was going to be the first thing you saw in a Marvel TV series from the MCU.
Yep.
So like high adrenaline, probably really expensive to shoot, all that stuff. Big fight scene, nice recall to a villain that was in the Winter Soldier. So a little bit full circle there.
Yep.
And I thought it started quite promising actually from that opening bit. It's like, wow, this is good. And you've got Bucky being just in therapy.
Yeah. Did it? I don't know. I think the action scenes are incredible. And I think specifically that opening action scene is a very big set piece that had it been the first MCU show, I think that would have been like, oh, here's what they're going to do with TV. And it doesn't necessarily feel like TV budget. They're throwing money at it. Whereas WandaVision was pretty subtle in terms of spectacle. WandaVision was the mystery. WandaVision was the chance for them to try and do something a bit different. And so I think it still worked, but in a different way. But the narrative of that first episode definitely wasn't what I was hoping for. And I think it didn't get better, probably. I've really, really struggled with it for a whole variety of reasons, which I will slowly reveal. But yeah, I think starting off, it felt slow, and it felt like it didn't necessarily know what it wanted to be, whether it wanted to be this action buddy thing that's a bit Lethal Weapon, two kind of guys bouncing off each other, or whether it wanted to be a bit like Winter Soldier, a bit like a political thriller. And at the same time, it felt like it was trying to set up the next step of what Captain America is as a symbol. And the first episode. Sorry.
No, you go. Sorry. No, I interrupted you.
I was going to say the first episode, looking back, to me feels like how the rest of the show plays out, in that it's a little bit muddled.
Definitely muddled.
Yeah. And I think I even texted you at some point. I can't remember what it was, which episode, but I think I texted you at some point and said the show almost feels like there should have been like at least one or two shows to set this up. Like I would have absolutely loved a US agent, however you say it.
US agent
series, because I think if you done Endgame, his Cap kind of signing off, and then it's, well, what happens to the Shield, and the story there is like, give us 4 hours, give us 6 hours of a guy that the government chooses to be the next Captain America, but it doesn't work, and you have this 4 to 6 hours of effectively building an anti-hero. That would have been super interesting and would have worked really well, because then when you catch up to something like Falcon and Winter Soldier, the murkiness of Captain America then is overhanging over that whole show. And I think the narrative of the show would have been way more interesting. But this show that we got feels like it was kind of, we don't quite know how to jumble all these ideas together, so here's all this and a really nice action scene. That's sort of what I felt like the series was over and over. And I think the first episode really represents that.
I think you're right. I think it definitely comes across as muddled. I don't know necessarily that something had to come before it. I think you touched on some points there that I agree with, but maybe in a slightly tweak it slightly, which is, I would love this whole series show to have been kind of understanding Sam Wilson not wanting to be Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. I like that side. Obviously, they're trying to do so many different things, aren't they? They're trying to they want Sam Wilson to be Captain America.
Yeah,
great. And they're obviously trying to also get Winter Soldier back on track, because it's kind of like gone from, okay, he was this assassin, then he was in Wakanda, and then there's this huge war going on. So they're trying to give him a bit more of a backstory, or to humanize him slightly and make people see that they want to turn him into a superhero effectively more so. Then obviously you've got, because this is set 6 months after the blip.
Yep.
I think so. They're trying to fill that thing, and they're also trying to think, we haven't just ignored this. We haven't just ignored that everyone's disappeared off the planet, and there's financial repercussions for that. And obviously you've got these flag smashers that are this group as well that are angry and bitter about everything that's happened since people have come back. You've also got the John Walker, the US agent stuff going on. couple of other subplots going on. We've got Sharon Carter as well going on. There's an awful lot to unpack, and this first episode definitely feels muddled because I don't really think it knew what it was trying to do in any of the episodes other than maybe the second episode where you get a bit more of US Agent.
Yep.
And the last episode, which is, I don't know, it just feels, it didn't end on a high note. That felt so rushed. That verse, but obviously we'll move towards that. But yeah, it's all muddled, and there's a lot to untangle. And the main thing that I feel I agree with you is that it doesn't quite know what it wants to be.
Yeah.
I really think they could have taken quite a bit of this out. I think that's what I said to you originally as well in the text, is that they could have taken some parts away and they could have really focused this. This would have been a really good show, diving into the Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes stuff, with the US Agent being the main protagonist, and he's been given the shield. Like Sam's given up the shield in the first episode. He's been given the shield. You know, he gets some super serum because he's struggling and he's going through all these emotions because he can't live up to the hype. And that essentially is it. Sam Wilson doesn't have super serum, does he? So he has to prove himself on another grade entirely.
Yeah.
That would have been it. But obviously they threw in the flag smashes as well, because they have this whole other future storyline most likely coming on with Sharon Carter and everything. And I didn't like that group. I didn't like them in the first episode. I didn't grow attached to those villains.
Yeah.
I guess they're villains, but they're also kind of anti-heroes in a way as well. It's just a bit of a mess.
I really, the core concept of what they want, I love, in that the idea that they're like, things were better when the blip was a thing. Like when people were gone, things were better. And I love that idea for a villain, because that's something that I think if you did it right, you could create a villain that you would sympathize with, in the same way that, like, with Thanos.
Yeah, because that's it. You're right. That's the sympathizing with Thanos, isn't it? In a way, because he's in a way he's kind of on the right track. Like
he has a point. It's
there's too much. Like there's too much. You look at something like real life, like with COVID and stuff like that, and how everyone says like there's less pollution in the air and stuff, and obviously it's all going to come back. It's only putting a small plaster over a big fucking wound. With everything going on. But that's it. That's what this blip is. That's what this group are trying to say, is that things were good. It looks so morbid in the start of Endgame because everything's grey and dark and all the stadiums are empty. But underneath all that, it was everyone lost a bunch of people. That's a completely different matter. But
and I really like that as a core premise for the villain. I think the problem is that it's my problem with a lot of the MCU villains. I've said this before. I don't know. It makes them a little bit wooden. And in this, the thing that really ticked me off was when Carly accidentally kills what's his face, US Agent's best mate,
the sidekick agent.
Yes, sidekick agent. Let's go with that. When he dies, and there's like shock on her face that she's like, "Oh my god, I've just killed someone." And I thought, oh, interesting that they've got a villain now that's kind of like, maybe I've taken this too far. Maybe this whole thing's gone a bit much. But then it's like followed, I'm pretty sure, by the following scene, if not a couple of scenes later, where she's like, "Let's just kill people," and it's like, oh, that real world consequence, that remorse, that emotion of I've killed somebody, what does that do to me, isn't there all of a sudden. She's like, I'm fine with killing a bunch of people, that's cool, sweet. And it's just what
it all happens. Some of those bits happen far too quickly. It's same with Sharon Carter. All of it feels like there's actually a really annoying scene. I was watching it with my wife Yannicka, and there's actually this scene with Sharon Carter where she looks like she's in the power broker's office on the phone. It's only a very small bit, but then it's like oblivious in the next episode that she is potentially the power broker. But like, I knew that she was the power broker because of that very small scene where she's just on the phone texting someone. Maybe it is obvious, but when I saw like the reactions after final episode, they're like, "Oh, that's Sharon Carter." Like she's such a despicable person.
Yeah.
But that again, that her story just jumped from one bit to another bit very quickly.
Yeah. And I feel like that was the show. Like the other element that we haven't actually mentioned was Zemo. Like Zemo going into this was something that I was like, oh, that could be really cool. And again, I feel like his character was a little bit muddled in that they weren't sure, do we make him evil? Do we make him entertaining or manipulative? And instead of like sort of picking one and really delving into it, they went, we'll do all three. But by the end of it, I'm like, I don't know if he's a comedic villain. Like I've never read him in the comics as like,
No, he's not. No, he's not a comedic villain.
Funny, but they've sort of pushed him as being funny.
He should have been the main villain that helps US Agent get the serum.
Yeah.
But then he's working to get out of to get all this emotion. He should have been part of something bigger as well, because he's not threatening now, is he? He wasn't threatening really in this, apart from shooting the guy in the what's it called? Crater? No, not crater. Freight?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you call those things that everyone has in Batman Begins? I don't know. You know what I mean? The lab.
It's yeah.
That thing. Stupid research let me down. But with his mask, all the promos had him with his mask, which he's known for in the comics, and he took it out of the car. He wore it maybe once. Yeah. And the rest of the time, he's just obviously he's like pulling the strings in several areas and stuff. But I just think they could have taken away the flag slash stuff. Him, US Agent, that would have been such a good series if they had just focused on less instead of more. And it took so long. There was one episode, I'm jumping ahead and mixing all up, but there was this whole episode where it's basically just Sam Wilson on a boat.
Yeah.
Just the boat episode. And I remember saying to Yannicka, this is like the second to last episode now. The last episode, obviously we need some conclusions, but I really feel like that penultimate episode could have been massive. They could have done so much in there. They could have, they just, I don't know, it's just so boring.
Yeah, like I completely get the thing is like I get the metaphor that they're trying to go for, that he's trying to build up the boat to save it in the same way that he's trying to save the Captain America mantle from what's just happened. Like the fact that shield has just killed someone, he's trying to reason with it and trying to like, if I can save this boat, then I can save Captain America's mantle, kind of thing.
Yeah, I get that as well. It just felt like it felt to me like it wasn't needed. Like it could have been a very small. Yeah. And what did his sister's character bring to it at all?
Yeah, gotcha.
Like they go to get a loan. Great, okay. They're having some family issues, but they're not that big. Fine. They fix the boat. Yes, it's a metaphor for him being, being able to fix other things as well. But it just all of that stuff could have gone more into just. I know him and Bucky were on the boat together, fixing the boat together and bonding, but they could have bonded by kicking ass. Like they could have the US Agent stuff. There should have been much more controversy around that because he's killed someone.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden he's joined forces with them.
Yeah,
it's just insane. Like so, and then at the end when the US Agent, for instance, he gets on his costume, his US Agent costume, which is obviously black and different flags like upside down and everything. Just is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? I know he doesn't really know what he is either, but it could have been really made out clear like he's a bad guy, and I think he should have just left them completely hanging.
Yeah,
and the end scene just been like, this isn't. I'm going to leave this car teetering, and I'm just going to go, and that's his despicable act.
Yeah,
after killing someone, which isn't good either.
Yeah,
but like he's like, no, like their countries turned this back on me. So I'm going to go as well. And that could have gone into Captain America 4. Like he could have been I think he said mini boss. He could have been like the opening boss of the film. Like he could have been opening boss. What's wrong with me? Playing too many games. Like the first villain that you come across, you have these like weekly villains, and then it's the first thing Sam Wilson's like, you again, you bastard.
Yeah.
And then they fight, but there's a bigger picture, and
That's where I feel like they could have given US Agent a show beforehand, because in my head when I was watching this, I was kind of like, there's elements of this that if you mix it around, you get a better story. So if you give US Agent a 4-part miniseries, something like that, and you do his story just about him and just about that shield, and at the end of that you have him murder someone and you have the shield be tainted right at the end, then you open Falcon and Winter Soldier with the boat scene, and it's just him and Bucky bonding. But the conversation changes. The conversation should be about Bucky going, look, they took that shield from you, and just like, obviously way not heavy handed like this, but saying effectively like, they're trying to take this boat from you, you're showing them that you are not having it, step up, that kind of thing. Have the conversation then at the start of the series, have that conversation at like, look, the shield has gone through this fucking trauma, it's time for somebody else to give it some hope, and have the story then about Bucky and Sam trying to figure out their place in terms of where that all lands. But instead, you don't. Instead, what you get is this jumble of ideas. And when Sam decides to become Cap, I don't buy his reasoning. Like, after everything, after the Shield's killed someone, after Isaiah's given the whole speech about, like, why the fuck would you want to be anything attached to that? I feel like no matter what Sam goes through, that is a hard thing to justify. Like, how are there no people at the end of that going, you're carrying a shield that killed somebody like weeks ago? Like,
Yeah.
who the hell are you, and why are you? I feel like there's not enough emphasis on that as a moment in terms of that shield is tainted, and not to mention the process in which somebody was made Captain America linked to the history of Isaiah Bradley. Why would Sam want
Should have killed. They should have killed Isaiah. They should have. US Agent should have killed him as well, and then that would have been
They're just a spark or something, but
spark. Yeah,
he
did get a fancy new costume. I mean, and he can backflip now and catch a shield. That was
this is true. Which also, I didn't understand that. Like, when him and Bucky are throwing the shield around, and then Bucky leaves, and then suddenly Sam can't grab the shield anymore. I was like,
they're gonna need a montage.
I know. I was like, but what? Okay.
I mean, there's so many bits. I mean, there are good bits as well. I mean, I actually generally over the course of it, I actually enjoyed quite a bit of it. The action stuff I liked. I really liked the Sam Wilson and Bucky, even though the boat stuff wasn't my cup of tea. But I enjoyed the bit in therapy and everything. That I really like Sebastian Stan.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I think he's cool. I really like Sam Wilson as well, and I think I'm glad that character has got the Captain America. I don't think Captain America is. It's really hard to fill Captain America's shoes, no matter who you are. Whether it was, whether Peter Parker was picking up the shield, or it was Bucky Barnes, or anyone. There's no, because even not only in the comics but in the films as well, because Chris Evans nailed the role, didn't he? And there's no one as, just crazy that they have to. They're not recasting, obviously, but they're going along with the comics. But it's tough to think of anyone else as Captain America other than Chris Evans. So for Sam Wilson to take them on board, because you couldn't imagine him leading the Avengers, could you? It's like you couldn't imagine there being another tech person like Iron Man. Like they're probably going to try and. I think they're probably going to try and make Peter Parker that person, aren't they? Eventually,
I wish they wouldn't, but yeah.
So it's actually I thought his costume looked awesome as well. I really thought it looked really good.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I thought, like, again, in terms of just a visual style, I always struggle to fault Marvel for that, because they do the visual style very well. I think it's just everything surrounding it. It just always feels like they've not gone far enough, or they've not done things too much. Like, in terms of, you mentioned Zemo as well. I forgot to say there, in terms of his costume, I saw, like, leading up to that, and including that episode where he just put the mask on, everyone, well, not everyone, but a large population of people on my Instagram were like, oh my God, it's the most comic accurate costume ever, which it's not. But also, he like there's no reason why he wore that mask. He puts it on to shoot like 3 people, and I don't know why he puts it on to shoot 3 people. Is it bulletproof? Is it?
No, I mean his mask in the comics is mounted onto his face.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
that's cool.
So he used to have a mask, and then it got. I can't remember what happens to it. I don't think it's like acid or something, but something happens and it's onto his face. So that's it. It's like kind of like Black Mask, but again, Black Mask can take it off. But so it's nothing like Black Mask really. But he always has it on. Black Mask always has his mask on, doesn't he?
Yeah.
In the comics at least. And so I didn't think it was that accurate, but I like the idea about it, and I like the idea that when he picked out the car, it's kind of like, I've wore this mask loads because I've done so much bad shit. Like,
yeah,
I really wanted him to be the main bad guy.
Yeah.
I was just hoping he would turn, but he didn't really, did he? And then he ended up on the raft. Why isn't he in the fucking raft anyway?
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense either. There's just a lot. It's really muddled, but there's a lot of good stuff. I thought visually it looked great as well. Like, even though I talk about the boat scene, I thought that all that stuff looked really nice as well. And I think everyone acted in it really well. Like I said, Sam Wilson, not Sam Wilson, that's not his real name. Anthony Mackie.
Anthony Mackie, yeah.
That's his stand. I thought everyone played their part well enough, but I just don't think it came off in the right way. And I think a guy who plays John Walker, US agent, what's his name? His son?
Wyatt Russell.
Wyatt Russell. Thought he was really good as well.
Yeah, which
awesome. Is, again, a shame, isn't it? It's just a shame that he didn't get even more chance to be a very like chaotic bad guy, US agent, and just, I mean, the final episode, that's probably the thing I have the biggest gripe with, was because they wasted so much time getting there that whole episode, for the 45 minutes that I think it was, it could have been even more.
Yeah.
Like, it just feels like they achieved everything so easily as well.
Yeah.
And like the flag smashes, it just feels like they could have just been stopped.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like anything in it is earned. I always think with a TV series, it's like when you get to the finale, where those characters end up and what they've done should always be in some way earned by some moment that they've overcome, some change that they've been through. But with the exception of US Agent, I feel like nobody in the show has really earned like a complete end to their storyline. Like, I don't feel like Bucky's trauma was that like important. Like, I feel like it was just, here's a scene in Wakanda, here's his book, and now
there should have been more flashback stuff, shouldn't there? Like, that assassination thing was really cool. There should have been more weight, trauma to it, and it should have been, that's where they should have followed it. Like, he should still be debating, or maybe people would be fed up if it was just more Bucky going back and forth, but he also needed to come. Sam needed to become Captain America. He needed to get past this, but I just think there was so much more there for the Bucky stuff, especially. They could have dived into, but they didn't. So really odd as well that they, with US Agent, with the super serum stuff as well, I just thought he didn't really seem that much better off after taking it. I know his head was all a mess anyway, but he seemed to get his ass kicked quite a lot as well. So it's just a bit weird, because he should have easily, I don't know. Sam Wilson is obviously good with his gadgets and stuff as well, isn't he? He's obviously very agile, but just
he's basically like Batman, just not rich and miserable, right?
Yeah, that's true.
There's so much about the show that I just don't feel like it really gave me value in terms of getting those characters to where I want them to. Like, I really wanted, since Anthony Mackie was introduced, I've loved the idea that he would become Cap someday, because I like that story. I like that kind of trajectory. But when he finally puts the suit on, I can't say I was like sick. I was just sort of like, okay, sure. Like, after everything, I guess, why not? I mean, he's got to stop these bad people who aren't really that bad, but suddenly they're happy to kill people. It It was just very, very.
I didn't like the fact that he came in through a window in the dark either. It would have been really nice if you had just seen it in a brighter, in a well-lit room.
Yeah.
Instead of also like red lights.
I don't know if you clocked this. It's like one of the worst things that I think you could do in a TV show or film. There's a bit where he leaves Isaiah's house and then calls his sister to say, I'm coming home. Doesn't say bye, just says, I'm coming home. Puts the phone down, looks intently at Isaiah's house, and then it cuts to him and his sister. Why do you
it's like 2 days later.
Yeah, it's like, why do you need the bit where he calls her and goes, I'm coming home, and doesn't say bye? It felt like overly dramatic, and as if somebody's gone like, we need a scene there just to transition, but it doesn't. Probably. It was just like this fucking stupid. So
yeah. I mean, loads of it. I mean, I mean, I think obviously, yeah, we're both obviously not fans that it was really muddled.
Yeah.
Things. It's still, there is a lot of goodness in there as well. Like I said, the characters and some of it, like not necessarily the character building, but the actors were good and the location shots were amazing. I think it was shot really well. I think it did look like a film. Every episode looked like a film.
Yeah.
I just thought the maybe this sounds wrong, but the actress that played the main flag smasher, whatever her name is, I can't remember her name.
She's in Solo as well.
She just never seemed intimidating. I know they probably say that super serum makes you super strong and everything, but harkens my point about US Agent as well, because he should be just as powerful, but she seemed to be even like, maybe it's because it's been in a system more, but she just didn't feel that threatening. None of the flag smashers did. Like none of them felt, oh my god, this is a bunch of guys on super serum, because surely they could do even more chaos than they were doing.
Yeah.
Just there was when they sent their message out and half the park stood up, I was just like,
I was really confused by that. I was like, why are these people all standing up?
What they even do? What have they done? Like they didn't do. None of these people did anything. I know they're making a movement and stuff, but just that weird. There were some payoffs that didn't happen either. I thought the actor that was playing, he was in the military as well, helping Sam.
Oh yeah, the guy that becomes
took Falcon's wings. Yeah, so I thought that would be an Easter egg. I know he took the wings, but I thought you would see that payoff as well.
Yeah,
which was a shame. So yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I feel like if we keep going on about it, we're just going to slander it.
Yeah, if they'd done Carly Morgenthau as less of a warrior and more of a like psychological, I'm going to convince people that I'm right, and that's the movement. Like the movement is what will terrify people, rather than brute force and violence. Would you have bought that more? Like if she had been less, I would have as
definitely.
Well. Because that's what I was hoping. Off that first episode, when there's like the text and there's like the people raid and then somebody jumps out, I was like, that's a cool idea to have like a villain who's kind of using people to cover up these like they're not really like terrorist incidents, but to steal stuff or to get further ahead and whatnot. I was like, that's a cool idea. And then it slowly turned into just more punching and stuff that I was like, okay, sure. And also they all dressed as if they'd come from X-Men Last Stand. And I was like, why?
They did. That's true.
Just
X-Men Last Stand is just
the
such a good film.
Yeah, it's the best.
It is.
Yeah.
It's just there definitely wasn't an episode where I came away from it thinking, oh man, that was so good. And I definitely had that vibe with WandaVision a few times.
Yeah.
But I did look forward to every week. And I think I look forward to it more because I thought, right, this is going to pick up now, because I'd seen in the trailer that Sam had the shield back at some point. So I knew he was probably going to take on the mantle of Captain America. I just wanted more. I wanted more action. I wanted more Winter Soldier flashbacks. I wanted less of the Flag Smasher, but more of Zemo and US Agent.
Mm-hmm.
And as the weeks went on, I thought that's what's going to happen. And it just didn't. When it left at the end of episode 4, I think, and you had this there was like a stare down between US Agent, Falcon, and Winter Soldier. And that is what started what turned out to be what is now known to me as the boat episode. There should have been so much more of that. There should have been so much more of that. Like those three fighting was a really cool opening scene.
Yeah.
But I wanted a lot more of that going into the last 2 episodes. And I think that's really where I kind of let me down because I thought everything that had come before, although it was muddled, there was a slow burn, hopefully to some explosive couple of episodes at the end, and it just didn't really happen. And if you look at the last episode, yes, there's considerable more action than the other ones, but there's also just a lot of talking, and they're wrapping things up that could have been explored even more. It's just...
Yeah, like I thought Vulcan's speech at the end, I get what they're trying to do, and some of it I thought landed, and the other part of me as like the writer in me was like, this is really heavy-handed. It's almost like we've written a show that's about the importance of showing like America's weaknesses and showing how America needs to improve. And then they've got to the end and they've gone, I'm not confident that we've actually done that, so let's have somebody say it.
Yeah.
And it's just felt really heavy-handed, and I was a bit like, And there are a few moments throughout it as well where they sort of did that. Like, I absolutely love that fight scene that you were talking about, where it's the three of them. And I would have enjoyed it more had an episode or two before Bucky not said, we need to just take the shield from John Walker, and Falcon or Sam Wilson replies, what do you want to do? Just walk up and like grab it off him. And then and then that plays out anyway. I was like, you don't need both. You don't need somebody to have that conversation and then it happen. It either happens and that's how it goes down, or somebody says it and it goes down in a completely different way. It felt again heavy-handed, and like they didn't have confidence in what they were doing. I don't know.
What would you give it to wrap up the Falcon and Winter Soldier before we move on to the what's going to get highly praised, most likely compared to what we've just done to this? What would you give a consistently okay rating to Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Well, I hate to do this because we're starting on season 2 with me giving a consistency rating of a 4.
I knew you were going to say 4. I knew it.
And that 4 is mostly held up by the US agent storyline. If that wasn't in this, it might have been Phantom Menace.
1.
Actually. I can't even remember what I gave Phantom Menace. But yeah, it's just, or Attack of the Clones. I think Attack of the Clones was the one that I was like, it's awful. Phantom Menace has a redeeming feature.
Attack of the Clones is utter shite.
Yeah.
So is Phantom Menace.
I mean, Phantom Menace, you've at least got the end fight.
That's true. I would probably give it somewhere like 5 or 6, probably 6, just because I'm a Marvel fan. But not just because of that reason, because I liked a lot. I really like Bucky Barnes. I really like, like I said, I really like Sam Wilson's character. Oh, there's a lot of intrigue with the Sharon Carter stuff as well. I liked a couple of the Easter eggs with like future, what's potentially going to set up potential things going on in the MCU. I wish they cut out some of the fluff, I guess you would call it. For me, if you remove the flag smashers completely, basically, and you have US Agent and Zemo as your main two guys, and Sharon Carter is like the pulling the strings, potentially like getting Zemo out and everything like that, then there's something more there, and a lot more action was needed, I think. But yeah, obviously it was meant to be a thriller, wasn't it? Overall,
yeah. And I feel like if the post credits thing had been the arrival of Sharon Carter and the reveal of her as the power broker, that would have been way more impacting than if she'd just been in it. Like if they'd just not shown her at all, and the last scene is Sharon Carter, you'd be like, oh, fuck.
There's too many hopes and dreams now, because I've read a lot of people saying that they really want Kingpin to be who's Sharon Carter's working for.
If it's not,
it's not, then the fuck is the point? What are we even doing here?
But
if
also,
they recast him as well, I'm gonna lose
if they cast anyone else as Kingpin, I'll be. It was like if they recast Daredevil, I'd be like, fucking idiot.
It's always got to be Charlie.
Yeah.
Right. So, shall we move on to Invincible?
Yes.
Okay. So I hated him. No, I didn't hate it. Invincible. So this is a show that was on Amazon Prime. This was originally a comic written by Robert Kirkman, released quite a long time ago now, and ended 2-3 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
I didn't read the comic for a long, long time. Actually, I only read it over the last year and a half, maybe.
Yep.
Because it's another one of these comics that will kind of, you have to read it. And I just I never really picked it up. I never really went through. I was always reading something else.
Hmm.
But I have read it since. Been reading through the omnibuses, and I was like, oh, I waited too long for this, and it's probably got a lot to do with the hype of the TV show coming around as well. But I was like interested to see how it played out on TV compared to the comic. Was it going to be like something like Watchman, which is basically like a panel for panel type thing?
Mm-hmm.
And it is in a way. But anyway, the TV show came out 9 weeks ago.
No, it's a shorter season, isn't it? I think it's like
Because it was three episodes came out straight away, didn't they? So
I think it was literally like a month ago.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I will
so it's been
Google
out for a month
keep
now.
Talking.
But this finished on Friday last week, so that was the beginning of May. Basically, was the last episode. And my word, not only have I seen so much hype around it and so much love for it, that is completely warranted, but it is strong, isn't it? From the story to the animation to the music to the cast to everything about it is. That was a bit of a weird everything.
Yeah,
Everything about it is just on point. And I was gutted when it was over. I was really looking forward to it on a weekly basis, and I can't wait for more. And I really hope they're already working on season 2 and 3, which has been announced. But I mean, do you want any early words on it before we just really talk about it?
So I haven't read the books. I think I've read the origin issue. I had issue 0 and I read that and thought that was cool. But then I just never, again, I had so many other comics to read that I just never got around to reading Invincible. And yet everybody kept saying how good it is. Like I kept reading, people being like, this is one of the best superhero books you can read. And then, I watched the first episode kind of thinking, I don't know what to expect from this. And the thing that got me so much with it was that they were telling a great superhero story, but with I'm a huge OC fan, and there was like a feeling of the OC in it with the music and the way it was dealing with like relationships. And I was just kind of like, this is awesome just off the first episode. I knew it was something that I just really liked. And yeah, like you said, I was so excited every week.
It's so, I mean, all of it. Like, I get the OC thing as well, with especially with all the high school romance stuff going on, which is really good as well. So I watched the first 3 episodes back to back. It came out on Prime, and I watched all 3 of them.
Yeah.
And I was so annoyed that there was. I think I texted you probably.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I really wish there was an episode 4, but it just. I'm not really into anime. I've be honest, I'm not really watching any anime, and I couldn't tell you if this is really close to what anime is. I know anime is really over exaggerated as well, with like the way it like zooms in on people's faces and lines everywhere, but it's probably the closest thing that I've watched to something that's not Studio Ghibli and stuff like that. I don't even know if that is anime technically. I have no idea, Nick. It's not my area of expertise. I've done no research. So but I thought maybe I'd be a bit put off by the way it looks, but I wasn't, and I was really engaged. I kind of forgot all about the comic, really. The order is a bit different. There are some things that happen in the comic that happen a lot later. It seems that there's a lot of stuff that happens later in the comics that happens earlier, and there's new people involved as well. I mean, for anyone who hasn't, I should probably just give a tiny bit of backstory. I probably should have done it with Falcon and Winter Soldier, but hey, whatever. It's about, essentially, it's a superhero story centered around this young teenager. He's pretty young, I guess. He must be in his late teens, if I remember right. And he has no powers. His name's Mark Grayson, so it's about the Grayson family. He's waiting on his superpowers because his dad is a superhero. He's from, I don't think they know where he's. Everyone knows he's from another planet, don't they? Because he's Ultramite.
Yeah.
He's a superhero. He's saving the day all the time, and everyone loves him. And there are other superheroes. It's like a super open world of everyone has heroes and there are villains, and loads of people have powers, and loads of humans just get killed. Super violent. So if you're listening to this thinking we're talking about a cartoon, it's really fucking violent.
Yeah.
So it's just so different to anything I've really seen before on TV, and I really enjoyed it. Anyway, this main character, he gets his powers eventually, becomes invincible. He's a superhero, gets trained by his dad, and then everything just goes fucking sideways because there's like love triangles going on. There's good superheroes are actually bad. There's villains that just play a huge part, like these two guys called the Mauler twins, who are just awesome.
Yeah.
These clones. So you should watch. Anyone who's not watched it should watch it. If we don't convince you to watch it by saying how great it is, then
the voice cast alone should pull people in. Like
it's huge, isn't
the
it?
voicing is insane, and yeah, it's just awesome. Everything about
So
it.
you got Stephen Yeun, who's he was in The Walking Dead. He played
Glenn.
Glenn in Walking Dead. So he's the main character, Mark Grayson. And J.K. Simmons, who seems to be in his voice is everywhere. He seems to be everywhere. This guy, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So he's the dad, and the wife is played by Sandra Oh, the one who's from Killing Eve and Grey's Anatomy. Yeah. And then there's a bunch of other people. There's a guy, I can't remember his name now. I have it written down here. Oh, you got Zachary Quinto as well, who's Robot. She's another huge name as well. What's the guy called? Rex, what's his name? Jason something, isn't it?
Madanukis or
it's that. So he's from Brooklyn. I know him more from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He's the insane guy that is always really, really funny. He's like also he's just insane.
He's in a show called The League, and he plays a very zany character in The League.
Right.
But he's awesome. He's in loads of things now as well, and his
very, voice is just funny. So you just know it straight away, wouldn't you? Yeah. If you ever listen to something like, oh, that's him. Yeah. You can't remember his surname, but yeah. So the cast is just crazy. It's so nuts. Good.
Seth Rogen.
Especially on Seth Rogen, yeah. The thing is, you can pause on Amazon, can't you? And it tells you all the information. So if you're like, that voice sounds familiar, you just pause it and it's there. It's I think they just got so much right with it. Like Zachary Quinto, he sounds like a robot, doesn't he? Also, there was Ezra Miller in it, wasn't he? He was the
that was cool.
Insane scientist who makes the robots.
Yeah. Walton Goggins as well, who I absolutely love. He's
absolutely insane. Yeah. The whole thing. I mean, I think the thing that everyone's kind of sort of loved about this show is that not only because it is violent, obviously, and it is a comic, so everyone's obviously into a lot of that stuff now. Most people are, but there's so much heart to it as well, because you generally feel that the last episode. I don't care about jumping forward in this because we're not doing episode by episode, but I mean, fuck me, if they seem to know exactly when to like cut out all the music just so you can just hear the words, and they get the atmosphere right in so many of it as well. They get, you feel angry when you should feel angry, and you feel disappointed. There's a bit, and again, spoilers. I know we said that at the beginning of this episode, but the bit where Omni-Man, who's the dad, he's about to throw the last punch against Mark, and you can actually see him biting down on his teeth. Like, he really, really wants to finish it. And the whole thing before it, and bearing in mind, he's only just contemplating not doing it when he says the line, why would you be here? Like, you've got nothing in X amount of years. It's like, I'd have you, Dad.
Yeah,
like, oh, Mark,
so good.
Stop it.
Yeah.
And 10 minutes before this, he's getting held up face first in a train.
Yeah.
Obliterating hundreds of people.
Savage.
So savage. And then he's still kind of like, I still love you, Dad.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I mean, there'd be so much to unpack. It's a huge, huge season. There's so much going on, but I just thought that they paced everything so well. It would be so easy because the comic is really fast paced. The comic it feels like maybe 10 pages in, you're already like Invincible is already flying around, and there's already, it's a very short time you find out a lot that happens in season 1 happens in the comics. It doesn't take a long time to get there.
Cool.
But this, and I think I did worry that it was going to be like, and it was fast paced, but there was a lot of, compared to something like we just talked about, Falcon and Winter Soldier, it's like a lot of thought went into the beats.
Yeah.
So they could have easily done the stuff with Omni-Man in episode 2 to hook people in, thinking like, okay, this is what's going down. But they didn't. They really built up Mark becoming invincible, having some sort of weekly battles with villains. Just a lot of good stuff.
There's just so much about it, and I think the thing with it that I was kind of thinking was that the fast-paced part of it is the superhero thing. That's the thing that is very quick. Things happen and fights break out, and it's vicious and it's very fast. It's like, fuck. But the relationship side of it, the character moments, they're all paced perfectly. And so what you get is like a brilliant bundle of story, because if you're somebody who's like, oh, they're taking a lot of time to have this conversation or whatever, then that can be quickly followed by the next scene, which is just so much action for you. They really know how to like level it out. And you're completely right there that the emotions of the show get you in the correct way. The episode where Mark's friend goes to visit his friend in college, and his friend, yeah, it's the one with Ezra Miller, isn't it? When his mate gets like kidnapped and then like mutated on and stuff, I genuinely felt so much sorrow for that character, because he's just lost this guy that he was kind of hitting on. And it happens in such a brutal way as well. It's not like it's just off screen or something. You see so much like savagery around it. And again, the voice acting is just brilliant there. And the music, yeah, just everything about it just feels brilliant. So when I did get to the finale, it is a sense of like, I don't want this to end, because I just want to continue watching more of their adventures. I just want to know how these relationships are going. And yeah, it like the character side of it, like the relationships that they were kind of doing, the high school stuff, really reminded me of the comic Snot Girl.
Yeah,
because the relationships in that, I used to describe that as almost like a gossip thing. That it was like month to month you could read that book, and in the month period between each issue, you could talk to people who are reading it as if it was a gossip thing. You'd be like, oh, what's Lottie done, and what does this mean? And you kind of break it all down. And I feel like with Invincible it was the same, that you kind of be like, how the fuck does Mark get out of that? Like, how does he do this? Or you talk about Omni-Man and kind of like, how long does he last to cover everything up? And it's just, yeah, the whole show's very smart, and it really brings you into that world. Just, yeah, awesome. Everything about it.
I'd like to actually download the soundtrack. I haven't actually looked into it. Something I keep meaning to do. I bet it must be out there by now.
Yeah.
I'd actually really like to rewatch it again. I'd like to try and convince my wife to watch it. I don't think it's gonna go down, but I'd like to try. I thought the last two episodes especially were really strong. I love the fact that they're really unsure of. So they've had this superhero Omni-Man that they've been saving the world for so long. And yes, they've got like, you have like the Batman kryptonite thing that they think they've got stuff in their locker for him, but it turns out, they've got the laser in the sky that they tried to destroy him with, but just doesn't do anything. And he's like, it was like something like a $40 billion gun, and it just tickled him basically.
Yeah,
I love the fact that, and Cecil's obviously so resourceful, like he can come in and out and stuff. And I just think that's again, if you go back to Falcon and Winged Soldier, those last two episodes just brought together so much that was going on in the series, and I just think it just didn't stop. It was just bam, 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 bam. Even when it was this kind of calm, like Mark was in hospital and stuff, there's still a lot going on, and then it's straight back into it, isn't it? It's just, this is the end. All these fucking robots are being built. All these villains are still out there. It just was such a good series.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it completely surpassed what I thought it was going to be. Like I've watched a fair few animations. I haven't watched like anime specifically, but there's a show on Netflix called Love, Death and Robots. I don't know if you've watched it.
Love.
So fucking good. And
wait, are you telling me that I have seen anime? There you go.
I think some of that is because like each episode changes, doesn't it? Like each episode's like a different art style, and I think there is some of that that's anime. But
is there a series too now?
Yeah, I think it's coming out. I don't think it's out yet, but we should talk about that. But yeah, the thing that got me with that is I went into that with the same thought that I went into with Invincible as well. I was like, I don't know what to expect with this, and I just remember watching it. I was like, this is unlike any other animation I've watched, because the art style is really unique. The voice acting is great, and the story feels like it could just be any other medium. Like it doesn't feel like this had to exist as a cartoon for budgetary reasons. It's like they've just wanted to tell this in a animation because it suits the art, it suits the style. And I think that's the same with Invincible. I think Invincible is like bright and colorful, but deep down it's got this real darkness, and the violence is the other side of that. Yeah, it's just awesome. I wanted to ask actually, like, how does the art style of the animation compare to the art style of the comic? Because I've only read that one issue 0, so
it looks very similar. It's very, very similar. You've got the omnibus editions I have, the pages are they're not that bright.
okay.
They seem quite, almost come off a little bit faded in a way,
Interesting.
compared to how bright this is. Obviously, I could show you the comic, but no one else is going to see it, Nick.
Yeah.
But it's very similar, which is why I wondered if it was going to be, because it's essentially an anime cartoon and a comic. Like, they could have literally just, and there are some scenes like when he throws the garbage bag in the sky at the beginning.
Yep.
It's like identical to the comic.
Cool.
Like the baseball stuff and everything like that. Some of it is just literally looks like it's torn from the page, but obviously it's expanded as well, which is a credit to Robert Kirkman, who's obviously rewriting this for the TV, and other people as well, and the art directors, the people working it, because obviously you've got this material and you just have to really expand it, like with anything, like a comic and stuff. But it's like Robert Kirkman has just sat there and thought, he could have got another 50 comics out of this with how much he's expanded it. So It's crazy. They're obviously talking about, he said like there's 2 and 3 seasons definitely, but he doesn't know if it's going to go on for 10 or 20. And I think it's like, it must be like 50 something volumes at least, maybe even more in total.
Yeah, it was 100 odd issues, wasn't it, in the end?
Yeah,
it's like 100
something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly.
Yeah. I mean, by the time season 2 rolls around, I would have read the whole thing. I haven't quite finished the end yet. I've still got the third one to go through, but it's
144 issues.
144 issues, yeah. Because I remember when it ended, because I work in a comic shop, for people who don't know, and I remember there were a few subscribers who were like, "Oh, it's such a big deal that it's ending," sort of like Walking Dead and stuff, which is another Kirkman title. But I was just like, okay, cool. But now I would think if I was reading it, I would be like, oh, I can't believe it's ending. I mean, I'm in love with Adam Eve. Like, she is.
She's awesome.
She's awesome. She's so cool. It's also funny, isn't it? There are so many funny bits and stuff, like with her ex-boyfriend in it, Rex, and stuff like that. And there are bits where I was sort of chuckling to myself, he's such an idiot, like showering with the person who can multiply herself and everything. And getting caught, but he's kind of like, I thought like it was going to be okay. Just stupid. And I really liked the character. I really liked, obviously, kind of very Hellboyish in look, as the demon detective.
Yeah, it was literally just Hellboy, but like
it was, but as
more brooding.
Yeah. Oh, he's a detective as well, isn't he? I guess, but he was really good as well. I like the conversations between him and Cecil, and I mean, I feel like every sentence is finishing with like, "Oh, it was so good, wasn't it?" But it was really good.
Yeah,
what would you give it? If you're happy to wrap it up there, unless you've got more to go on with it. But
yeah, no, I don't know how much more I can just gush about it, because I feel like I will just say the same thing.
I think we sold it. I think we sold it well to people. Then we think, and then Stephen Young would be happy with us.
Yeah. Oh, just going off the animation, actually. Sorry, I think I read somewhere that the animation style was based off of a lot of Ryan Otley is the illustrator. A lot of the character designs were just based off of stuff he was doing, whether it was from the book already or new stuff that he was kind of doing just to translate it into their style. And I thought that was really cool that you've involved the creators so much in the process. Like, I always think that's something that's really important in terms of comic book adaptations, is involving the people who created it.
Because there's loads of that shit going around, isn't there? There's loads of people that don't get any money for their creations. There's loads of people who aren't involved. Like, I saw Rick Remender. I think he got like a thank you package from the Falcon and Winter Soldier guys, because he was...
was it Ed Brubaker? Because I saw Ed Brubaker popped up in the news recently, because he was saying that like they've never really spoken to him properly about Winter Soldier.
No, this was Rick Remender, because he's the one who wrote the Sam Wilson turning into Captain America comic.
Got you, okay.
I'm pretty sure it was him. And the Ed Brubaker stuff was, he'd done all the Winter Soldier stuff before, and he hadn't seen anything for it.
Yeah.
And he's just like, now this character is a million times bigger than whatever Marvel wanted me to do with him. So I mean, it swings and roundabouts, does it, in a way? That's what you sign on for. They all sign these contracts, so they know what they're getting into. But
Yeah,
you're right. With Invincible, it feels like it's honouring what's already come and extending it to all the creators that are originally involved and making it even more so, bringing more people into that world.
Yeah,
so,
it just
fantastic stuff.
It really feels like a labour of love in the same way that I've said about Zack's stuff with DC, that his films really feel like a labour of love between everybody, like between the cast and the composer and writers. Everybody seems to be involved in this process and loves it for the right reasons. And Invincible feels like this through and through, that the first episode just gives you a sense that it's like they're all really invested in telling Mark's story and telling it in an interesting way, and not shying away from, like, we know we're an animation, there's certain things that are harder to do. It's like, we're just going to do everything we want to do and try and present you with something that's unique and interesting. And I think they do that really well.
I really hope it opens the doors for like some comics that maybe would never get, like, I mean, everything gets picked up now. Like, there was Sweet Tooth trailer the other day and everything, but I don't know, Gideon Falls has been picked up, but this really could open the door for something like a Seven to Eternity or something. Maybe that's maybe a bit too high budget for someone to pick up because it's so out there, but not out there, but just
you could do that as an animation though.
You could do it as animation, yeah. So there's hopefully this is something that starts up, because obviously Robert Kirkman has his hands in all the Image comic stuff as well. So
yeah.
So what would you give it as a?
I'd give it a 9.
Yeah, I'd give it a 9 too.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that, 9. You went for a 4 and a 9 in this first episode.
Yeah,
that is consistently okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's about as consistently okay as you can get.
Yeah, it is. Awesome. Anything else you want to dive into before we wrap this bad boy up?
I think that's everything. I think the only other thing I was going to mention is that if for some reason people don't decide to watch Invincible as an animation, there is a live action film coming, which Seth Rogen's working on as well. I assume that's how he ended up in the TV show, because he's
maybe
working on it.
It's a bit weird though, isn't it? Do you not think that's a bit weird that they're doing live action as well?
But I guess maybe I don't know, maybe they'll do things differently. They
have to go all in, don't they? Has to be even bloodier. They have to put that train scene in.
Yeah, amazing. Is that in the comic?
I'm pretty sure it is,
because that's done so well.
Sure it is. Yeah, I think it is.
But yeah, so if for some reason people don't decide to watch the animation, you really should. But if you don't, then there is a film coming of it, and if it's anything like this, it's going to be just fucking amazing.
So that's it for the first episode of season 2 of the Castillo podcast. Our next episode is part of our in-depth series where we're going to talk about Batman 89, the film that was made by Tim Burton. We're going to go in depth and talk about all the things from the cast to the narrative and so on. So join us for that podcast in a couple of weeks' time. In the meantime, you can find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, @ConsistentlyPod, and on YouTube by simply searching for Consistently OK Podcast. We stream on all podcast services, and each episode coming out on Wednesdays. If you're an Apple Podcast subscriber, you subscribe for extra content. So that's it from us this week, Nick.
Yeah, see you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks
format.
For some new Batman fun. So
yes.
If you enjoy our podcast, please subscribe. Please leave a review. Let us know if there's anything pop culture related you would like us to tackle, and we will do so. And everyone have a good couple of weeks.
Yeah, we'll see you shortly. See you in a bit, dude.
All right. Bye.
Bye.